Once again, we're so blessed to have you here at the Church and School of St. Peter. On behalf of Father Bodine and all of our staff and Deacon Damiani, we're blessed to have you here on this most joyous occasion. Today, we are here to celebrate news. We are here to celebrate good news. A historical event, which, like all historical events, occurred at a specific location and at a specific time. The location of this good news is beautifully marked by a 14-point silver star. That 14-point silver star is on the floor of the grotto of the Nativity beneath the sanctuary of the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, the oldest major church in the Holy Land. That news, that good news that we are here to celebrate occurred, like all historical events, at a specific time in history. We have just heard that in our gospel from the Gospel of Luke. It occurred during the reign of the Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus. History books tell us that Caesar Augustus reigned from 27 BC until his death in 14 AD. But some may say, this is old news. I've known this since my childhood. That's true. It is old news. But it's news that needs to be heard again, needs to be heard today, needs to be heard at this time and in this place. Might this good news strike us differently this year, 2025? How often have you heard it said, there's so much bad news nowadays? How often have you said yourself, or you said this to yourself or to others, there's so much bad news in the world? Of course, we live in the modern era of 24/7 news cycles, and so news might be always around us if we are so connected to our devices. The news is always available, and how does the news affect us? You know, it's interesting, in the morning I get up and I check the news because I want to see what's happened. And I want to pray for anything that's happened that was bad. And so many times when I go to check the phone, I'm kind of have a little bit of a anticipation anxiety. I have a little bit of a resistance. What's going to come up on the screen? What am I going to see? Has something blown up? Is there another war? Has the wars that there are they gotten worse? What's happened? What has happened that's been negative? It makes me think that I don't see the good news very often. And really, sometimes that news that we watch, it can depress us. It can depress us, and we can feel depressed throughout the day because of it. But remember where we started the homily. Today, we are here to celebrate news, good news. Good news that is a historical event, which, like all historical events, occurred in a time and a location. Might it be good for our health to spend time with this good news? Maybe as much time we spend with this good news as we spend with the news on our phone, on our TV, on our screen. Might it be good, let's make it even more concrete, might it be good for our blood pressure if we were to spend more time with this good news than we did with the news of the day? We need to know the news of the day, for sure. But this good news is better. You know, I haven't even mentioned what the good news is. In my homily, I haven't even talked about the good news yet. But of course, we all know the good news. So I didn't have to say what the good news was. But do we know the good news? Yes, okay. How do we know the good news? Can we know the good news more? Can we know the good news more deeply? Can we know the one whose name I haven't even mentioned, who we celebrate today, the birth of whom we celebrate today? Can we know him better? This day, in this place, in this year. So I'm putting this in the context of the reality of bad news. Because as a priest, I see it, and then people tell me about the bad news and how it weighs upon them, and I know how it weighs upon me. And I want to kind of go like this. How much time do you spend in the Bible? How do you compare that time that you spend in the Bible with the time you spend on the screen and the papers, in the TV shows, in the news, the evening news? How does that all weigh out? What if we were to know the one whose birth we celebrate? I haven't even mentioned his name. What if we were to know him as much as we knew the evening news or what's happening in the world? Once again, it's not an opposition. It's rather, if we know him, then we will see all that happens on the screen in a new light. Because you see, when Jesus was, I said his name. When Jesus was born, things weren't so good. The Romans were occupying the Jewish people. They didn't have their own king. They were being ruled by a foreign authority. The news was bad. And so those people, when this Jesus was born, they could have been plugged into the bad news that was happening, and there was plenty of it around them. You see, we have a choice to make. Where do we turn for our news? Once again, it's good for us to know our news. We need to be involved in the world. We need to change the world. We need to act as leaven within the world. But we need to be plugged in also to the good news, the great news that this one I'm talking about was born 2,000 years ago. He was born in a specific place. He was born in Bethlehem. He was born for you, and he was born for me. You know, the question comes up, how well do I know Jesus? How well do you know Jesus? Could this year, 2025, be a year where Jesus wants to manifest himself to you in a new way, differently, so that it's not just a historical event that occurred 2,000 years ago, but it is a reality that occurs right here, right now. 4:45 in the afternoon, Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, here at St. Peter Church on 1250 South Shore Drive. This could be a different Christmas for all of us. You know, it is interesting that as I talk to different priests and different people, there actually are more people who are interested in their faith now. And I think maybe it's one reason would be because of the bad news that's out there. And so maybe this is the year for us to know Jesus more fully. And what happened 2,000 years ago in history, in our Catholic theology, is made known here in what we celebrate at the sacrifice of the Mass in mystery. Mystery. And so you and I, if we're Catholic, if we're ready to receive communion, we're going to receive him, Jesus, the one whom we're celebrating today. The one whose birthday the whole world is celebrating. Whether they're very religious or they're not very religious, they know that this is happening. And as he came into the stable 2,000 years ago, if we receive him in communion tonight, he comes into our stable. As we'll say before we receive him, Lord, I'm not worthy that you should enter under my roof. But only say the word, and my soul shall be healed. And so today, it's a simple invitation from us from God. It's a simple invitation from us to God to let the King of Glory in, to let Jesus into my life, to let Jesus into my day tomorrow, to let Jesus into my day on Monday, to let Jesus into my family. Because he is the Savior, and he wants to save you from all the bad news. And he wants to give you his good news. And what is his good news? I love you. Oh, but you don't know me, Jesus. You don't know my past, Jesus. I am the first and the last, Jesus says, the beginning and the end. I know all things. I know you. And I love you. Will you open the door of your heart to receive me today, 2025, Christmas Eve? That's the invitation he gives us. And of course, it's not an either or, it's not a all or nothing. It's a opening my door more and more of my heart. And so let's take a moment of silence. And I invite you to open the door of your heart. I invite myself. God invites us to open the door of our hearts to this historical event that occurred 2,000 years ago and that is real today in this celebration of this sacrament. Open the door of our hearts just a little more in the silence that we're going to have for just about 30 seconds to receive Jesus, the one who came because he loves you, the one who wants to save you from all the bad news, the one who wants to give you his life, good news